Travis is with us in Buffalo. Hi, Travis. Welcome to the Ramsey Show.
Hi, Dave. Hi, Dr. John. How are you guys doing?
Great. How can we help?
Okay, well, me and my girlfriend have been going out for 2.5 years, and we're living together, and when it comes to money, she kind of does her thing, and I kind of do my thing. I follow you guys on your steps and everything. And my question is, how do I not get her to tell her to jump on board, but to understand what I'm doing.
What are you doing?
I'm on baby step number 2.
No, I wasn't. I was being a little bit facetious.
Oh,
are what's your future with this woman?
I planned on marrying her in the next probably year or so.
Does she plan on being married to you back?
We have talked about it. I mean, that is definitely one of our future goals. We also talked about kids and all that.
Okay.
So, we do plan on having a future together and all that, and it's to keep with my steps and everything else like that. I want her to understand how I deal with that.
So, does she not like it, or she doesn't agree with it?
She kind of does her own way of things. If she needs something, she'll go get it herself. And I've kind of been on the front of, I don't know exactly if we should start working together or as a team before marriage, combining income and all that, or anything like that.
How old are you?
I'm 25.
How old is she?
She's 25 as well.
Okay. All right. The problem you're having is it's hard to be sort of married.
Yeah.
It's like being sort of pregnant.
Yeah.
And you're trying to act like you're married in some ways and not act like you're married in other ways, and it's not working because it doesn't work. And so
Okay.
we see this all the time in couples that are shacked up. They have a very, very difficult time because it's legally and relationally unwise for you to combine everything, and yet you're trying to act like you're married, which would indicate that you would combine everything. And so I don't really know how to advise you well on this.
Yeah.
Unless you just decided, okay, we're going to live in two separate places and date, and we're going to start talking about the value systems that we have, about saving money, about spending money, about debt, about our future and what it would look like if we were to combine our households and if we were to get married. How are we going to make them one and on the same page? And
Okay.
you can try that while you're living together, but it's going to be very difficult, as you've already discovered. And
Yeah.
so, I think you can, that's probably the first step, actually, is you say, look, we cannot operate our lives for 40 years, 50 years going forward the way they're operating now, on two separate pages, on two separate planes. This is not a recipe for success. If we're going to have a future together, we're going to have to start figuring out how we're going to put our life together and what it's going to look like.
And the wedding ceremony is not the joining it up. It's the life that you build intertwined with one another.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Yeah. In other words, you don't have to convince her of anything except that that not being on the same page is a deal breaker. Because, dude,
Okay.
it's a deal breaker. It's the number one cause of divorce.
Yeah. For me, it was just, I felt I'm not meaning as in joint income. It was because I was in, for me, it was, I was spending so much because we did the separation for a while and try to make it work. But then I was for me, I was financially spending too much on travel and food expenses and stuff like that.
Yeah, you're missing what we're saying. You're trying to make this a math problem, brother, and this is not a math problem.
Yeah.
This is a unity problem.
Yeah. This is the two of you don't see the future the same.
Correct.
And therefore the future is not going to be together until you can see the future the same. And so we need to have a conversation that sounds like, if we're going to move forward in this relationship and move towards marriage, then we're going to have start talking about the 4 things that affect marriages: money, religion, in-laws, and kids. And if you can be in agreement on those 4 things in your pre-marriage state, pre-marriage counseling, engagement period, those kinds of things, you can come into agreement. You don't have to have kids, but you just got to say, I don't want 6 kids. Well, I want 10. Well, we got a problem. I think kids ought to be able to make up all their own decisions from the time they're 3 on. I don't. I think they ought to do what I say. Well, that's going to be a problem. I think my mother ought to be able to come over here and tell us what to do. Well, I think that's a problem. In-laws, kids, problems. Money. I think I ought to be able to spend whatever I want to spend no matter what. As long as I make money, it'll be my money, and you make money, and you take care of the rest of the house. Well, I don't think that's how we're going to do it. Problem. So you need to be in agreement on religion. I don't think there's a God. I'm sure there's a God, and I think people that don't think there's a God's an idiot. Well, then that's a problem. And so, you need to be in agreement on marriage, money, in-laws, and kids, and your pre-marriage state. Otherwise, you don't have a candidate for marriage.
You've had a fun roommate and maybe a good compadre for the last 2 years, but you don't have someone to build an entire future with together. I think you've got to go sit down and say, where do we want this thing? If it worked out perfectly, what would we want this to look like, and reverse engineer it? Right now, it sounds like, brother, you are just stumbling and tripping, and I think I'll do this, and I think we're going to do this, but I'd like to do that.
Even your verbal pattern is very uncertain, Travis.
Yeah.
It's like you have no certainty about where you're headed. And so you need to sit down and go, if we're gonna move forward in this, or you could just languish in this. You can choose that. But you're asking us how to get on the same page, and it's lay out what the page looks like on all of these things and go, we need to start talking through these things if we're going to move forward. It's not just, can we share the mustard?
That's going to be on my T-shirt.
Yeah.
Marriage. Can we share the mustard?
Can we share the mustard? Because, if you got 2 things of mustard, that's what you have with a roommate. Yeah. You got 2 mustard. That's my mustard, your mustard.
Yes.
Right there in the door of the refrigerator. And don't touch my mustard. Don't you remember college?
A Sharpie. Yeah.
So that's Dave's mustard. Don't mess with Dave's mustard.
Hey, so I know you should probably be asking me this question, but you've done this for way longer than me. So I came into marriage almost 2 decades ago with a very clear list of the things I wanted, values I thought were deal breakers for me, things that I was really firm on. Here's what I think about kids. And probably the most recurring theme over the last 2 decades is I was wrong, right? I thought I wanted this many kids, and I thought...
as long as you're in agreement...
That's okay.
All along, I don't care.
That we're going to solve this together.
You could get married saying, I want 10 kids, and 5 years later, the 2 of you have traveled the world, and you go, I think the 2 of us are looking at each other going, we want a Chihuahua.
Or you have kid 1, and you're like, I'm out.
Tap out. That one right there, that did it. That second one, that did it for sure.
But the key is we're going to make these decisions together.
Yeah.
Not ours and yours and mine. It's
not
ours.
But you can't come in and go, you get married going, I want 10 kids, and then you go, I changed my mind unilaterally without discussing this with the other person.
Yeah, it's not a showdown.
Yeah.
That's right.